I have Dollop tour dates to announce for the year 2024 of our Lord J-Town. We have our 10th anniversary show coming up in Los Angeles on April 27th. Guests are Karen Kilgariff and James Adomian. And then we are going to Australia, starting on May 13th in Perth, May 16th in Sydney, May 18th in Brisbane, May 20th in Canberra, May 22nd in Melbourne, and May 24th in Adelaide. You can get your tickets at dolloppodcast.com.
Experience the magical world of orcas at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science. Learn more at dmns.org.
You are listening to The Dollop, an American history podcast. Each week, I read a story from American history to, by the way, I'm Dave Anthony, to my friend
Gareth Reynolds. Thank you for calling me your friend who has no idea what the topic is about.
Because he is in a box all week long.
Yep.
And I only let him out to hear these stories.
What are these about?
Back in your box!
Give me my fish heads first.
God, you want to hit a dude?
I'll do one buck.
People say this is funny?
Not Gary Gareth. Dave, okay.
Someone or something is tickling people.
Is it for fun?
And this is not going to become the Tickling Podcast.
Okay.
You are Queen Fakey of Made Up Town.
All hail Queen Shit of Liesville. A bunch of religious virgins go to mingle
And do what?
pray.
Hi, Gary.
No.
Nicely done, my friend. Okay, Gary. Any other things you want to tell people
Yep,
about?
my name's Gareth.
From 1790 to 1800.
1800.
1800.
It's cute.
I've been working since 7 a.m. It's now 10.
I've been in the box all day waiting.
Philadelphia enjoyed what renowned city historian E. Digby Baltzel called the Silver Decade. The federal government operated among the cobblestones and row houses along the Delaware River, which was the busiest port of entry in North America.
Yeah.
Shit was fucking happening for the Phil town.
Okay.
But when the nation's capital was moved to a swamp located between Virginia and Maryland, Philadelphia missed its first opportunity to be the center of power in the nation.
That sounds like a real Philadelphia way of looking at it, too.
Yep. That shit moved to fucking swamp.
Fucking swamp.
Better than you. 3 decades later, I'm going to tell you, a lot of Philadelphia people are going to be mad at this podcast.
Okay. But I think most Philadelphia people are mad at everything.
Yeah, it seems that way. 3 decades later, it missed a second chance. President Andrew Jackson closed the powerful U.S. bank, which was located in Philadelphia. Shortly thereafter, the center of the young nation's high finance started migrating to and took up personal residence in New York City. So that was it. Indeed, for generations, Philadelphia was not considered a destination. American journalist and editor H.L. Mencken called Philadelphia a, quote, well-lit cemetery.
What a prick.
Because for well over a century, the city was run by secular political bosses who never thought outside their parochial or financial interests. Many city residents were happy to live in the quiet caution of the city's Quaker heritage. Philadelphia was suffocated by the equality of Quaker philosophy. Lawyers and financiers and industrialists in Philadelphia amassed personal wealth and comfort, but shunned fame and power. While the Kennedys in Boston gave the nation a president and 2 U.S. senators, Philadelphia has never sent anyone to the White House.
Yeah, I can tell that people won't like this already.
And until recently, the city hadn't even produced a governor of Pennsylvania for 100 years. Lacking Washington's power and New York's pull, Philadelphia was left out. When the federal government built I-95 running north and south to connect Florida and Boston, Philadelphia was a detour. In fact, a Russian journalist visiting the Philadelphia Inquirer editorial board years ago marveled at the fact there was no highway linking Philadelphia to New York directly. There still isn't one.
Yeah, fair.
Fair. Totally fair. I remember thinking that myself. This subtle feeling of an inferiority seemed to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. While New York built skyscrapers, Philadelphia's planners refused for decades to allow a building taller than the cap on Billy Penn's head atop City Hall.
Oh, boy, that is a dumb policy, huh? I mean, you don't even, like, the idea that you're like, you can't build anything taller is already a bad policy,
Yeah.
but then you're like, don't go bigger than the hat.
Not the clock tower. Don't go higher than the clock tower.
That clock tower is sick, though.
While New York had Babe Ruth and the Mick and all those World Series titles,
What did Philly have, David?
Philadelphia, the Phillies gave away the pennant. No sports franchise in North America had lost more games during the 20th century than the Phillies.
Oh, man.
The NFL franchise, the Eagles, have...
I got a good buddy from Philly.
Yeah, he's got
And I'm just picturing Burns listening to this right now, just being like, God damn son of a bitch.
The NFL franchise, the Eagles, have never won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, but Donovan McNabb barfed during one.
See? The NBA team, the 76ers, have won 3 championships since they moved to the city in 1863. The last one they won was in 1983. The NHL team, the Flyers, the city's most successful franchise, earned the nickname the Broad Street Bullies in the 70s due to their use of bending the rules, intimidation, and fighting to win. The terrible behavior of the Philadelphia fans really, one could say, began in 1949, from all accounts.
Well, David, take me there.
On August 21st, 1949, the Philadelphia Phillies were playing a doubleheader against the New York Giants. Mm-hmm. The doubleheader is 2 games played on the same day. The Phillies beat the Giants 4-0 in the first game at Shibe Park. The second game was going okay until the 9th inning. New York were up 3-2 when a Giants player hit a fly ball to center field, and the Philly player seemed to make a shoestring catch. But the umpire ruled it a hit, and the Giants scored another run.
Oh, boy.
The center fielder would later say it was an obvious catch. The Phillies were furious. Arguments broke out on the field between players and umpires. Meanwhile, in the stands, the fans were completely losing it. I should add that historically, a doubleheader means that there has been a shitload of drinking over about 6 hours.
Oh.
You're about 6 hours into a bender. Just a horrible bender.
Maybe more, because you got to think about like the pre-gaming and the in-between
time. Yeah, so you're like 7 or 8 hours into just a drink fest. Suddenly, a soda bottle came flying out of right field.
I mean, already good.
Out of the right field stands onto the field. Then, from the left field stands, everyone was like, holy shit, did you see that? And then they started winging bottles. Within seconds, the field was being bombarded by glass bottles from everywhere. The crowd of 19,000 went batshit. Bottles, vegetables, and cans were tossed.
Vegetables is the best part, for sure.
You always hear this.
Hit him with the broccoli.
But I realized as I was writing this up that it's because they brought all their food to the game. So it was like a guy would just bring like a zucchini and he was going to eat it.
Well, here's probably what
It's
it
not
is
like they were
even more
selling
so, though,
Oh.
is that they probably were like, throw the food you want to eat the least, which in an average American diet is anything that grew on a tree.
Correct. The crowd of 19 was crazy. The players ran for cover in the dugouts. The barrage lasted for 15 minutes. The public address announcer came on to warn fans if the attack did not stop, then the next game would also be forfeited by the Phillies. He was drowned out by boos and catcalls.
Yeah, there's just no way they would give a fuck.
No, at this point, they don't care.
Yeah, it's very short-term thinking when you're throwing glass on the field.
Yeah. The fans did not stop tossing anything they could get their hands on. Finally, a cheer erupted when an overripe tomato hit Chief Umpire Al Barlick on the head.
That had to be delicious.
Seconds later, a bottle whizzed past the neck of umpire Lee Balafant.
What happened to the tomatoes?
Barlick signaled a forfeit, and the umpires ran off the field. After the incident, the state passed a law forbidding fans from bringing soda and beer bottles into stadiums.
So what was it before that, though? It was just...
I think you could just bring whatever you wanted in back then.
So
Now I think you had to buy it.
It is like when you go to a game now, it is nuts to think that there was a time when you literally could just walk in with whatever the fuck you wanted.
Fucking insane.
Yeah. Because now,
Yeah.
I mean, there'd be a lot of dead people.
A lot of deputies.
Yeah.
So that changed that. Now, in 1960, the Phillies brought their first black player to the team.
Okay.
He was young and he was very good. As a rookie, he batted .318 with 29 home runs, 91 RBIs, 13 triples, and 125 runs.
I just have a bad feeling.
Why?
Well, I just feel, and I'm probably way off base here, pardon the pun.
You are, yeah.
But I just feel like the Philly fans aren't going to embrace this guy.
Why?
Well, I think it's not going to be based on his stats, but the color of his skin.
Hold on now.
Okay.
He led the majors in triples and runs and was the runaway winner for Rookie of the Year. The next 3 seasons, he was selected to the All-Star team. What's to not like?
Again, I think I'm going to go to race.
He also struck out a lot and made a lot of errors, so the fans began booing him right away. In his second season, things turned south fast.
Oh, boy.
Phil's favorite and longtime player, Frank Thomas, taunted Allen by calling him boy and referring to Allen as Muhammad Clay.
Oh.
That's a teammate. Things boiled over after
Is that a take on Cassius Clay Muhammad Ali?
Well, it's 1960, so no.
So he just called him Muhammad Clay?
Yeah. I don't think Cassius Clay's around in 1960.
No, probably not. No.
Things boiled over after Thomas called Allen a nigger SOB at batting practice before a game.
No, it's an interesting time when you can drop the N-word and not say son of a bitch. Backwards now. Rightfully so.
Allen went after Thomas, and the two fought. Allen with his fists and Thomas with a bat.
Oof.
Thomas was quickly traded after the fight.
Okay.
And the fans blamed Allen for the
Jesus
departure
Christ.
of their favorite veteran.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Allen described the fans' reaction. The next day, I stuck my head out of the dugout, and I'd never heard such booing. People yelled nigger and go back to South Street with the monkeys.
Oh, God.
Fans began throwing batteries, pennies, fruit, and garbage at him from the stands. This is 1960.
Yeah.
For the rest of his career in Philadelphia, he was forced to wear a batting helmet in the field to protect himself from the constant projectiles.
What the fuck? Batteries?
Oh, yeah.
I guess
Philadelphia's renowned for throwing batteries.
I know
at
they
people.
throw batteries, but I can't understand how it even. How did that like you were just like, well, what are you gonna do with them? Take them to the game and throw them at the black. Come on,
Hey, this one's out of juice.
come on.
Well, let's bring
We
it
need
to the
more than
game.
square batteries. Go to take them to the ball game and throw them at that guy who got rid of our favorite legend.
Eventually, Allen broke. He started coming late to games and practices. He started missing flights and showing up drunk out of his mind.
Jesus.
Well, that's not surprising, right?
Well, you think about Jackie Robinson. He really hung in there.
He did hang in there.
I think he made most of the trips.
Yep. In 1969, he held out for 26 games and returned only when he was promised a trade out of Philadelphia. He said, I can play anywhere. First, third, left field, anywhere but Philadelphia.
Ugh.
He was finally traded and ended up being the MVP of the league while playing for Chicago.
Okay, so there, I mean, there shows you how dumb they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Congratulations.
Yeah. The man you threw batteries at is the most important player. He's the best player.
On December 15th, 1968, the Philadelphia Eagles were playing the Minnesota Vikings at Franklin Field. The Eagles were a terrible football team, having only won 2 games all season. Even worse, they had lost 11 straight, then won 2 meaningless games, which took them out of the number 1 draft spot, which would go for the highly coveted O.J. Simpson.
Oh, Jesus. 2 games.
Yeah.
Come on, guys. We don't quit on this. Quit on the season.
No, seriously, quit on the season.
Quit on the season.
Adding to the anger level at the game was the weather. It had been snowing since the day before, and the game temperature was in the low 20s, with wind gusts up to 30 miles an hour. But still, 54,000 people showed up to watch their miserable team play in miserable weather. At halftime, the fans were to be treated to a Christmas pageant.
Oh, God.
While the Eaglet cheerleaders, who were dressed up as elves, romped on the field accompanied by a 50-piece brass band playing Christmas tunes, Santa was to make his appearance riding around the field on a huge Christmas float.
Dave,
What?
listen, a couple things.
Okay.
One, I know this goes bad
Why?
just because it's being brought up, and maybe I have a hint of a memory of this. But two, it's just the idea, like, that has to be the last time the city tried something sweet at a sporting event. Like, because it's set up to be so sweet. It's elves. These cheerleaders are elves. Santa's going to come.
Yeah.
But you know that you're dealing with a bunch of people who are fucking freezing,
Yeah.
who are drunk as fuck,
Oh, yeah.
and are not happy.
No.
So
they are
Santa's
not happy.
Santa's going to become the new outfielder.
While the Eaglet cheerleaders romped on the field, they were accompanied by a 50-piece brass band playing Christmas tunes. Santa was to make his entrance riding around the field on a huge Christmas float featuring an ornate sleigh dragged by 8 life-sized fiberglass reindeer. All sounds good.
Yeah, well, yes.
But even before it begun, the halftime show went pear-shaped.
Oh, boy.
The float quickly got stuck in the mud, meaning Santa had to abandon his sleigh and walk around the stadium on foot.
Awkward.
And worse, Santa was nowhere to be found,
Oh, God.
having been prevented from making it to the stadium due to the weather, or, as rumor had it, because he'd gotten too drunk.
Jesus Christ.
In a panic, the Eagles entertainment director Bill Mullen, approached a fan sitting in the stands, 20-year-old Frank Olivo, to fill in as Santa Claus.
This is not good.
Olivo just happened to have worn a red corduroy Santa suit and a fake beard to the game. He was given a large sack and told to weave down the field between 2 columns of eaglets, waving to the crowd as the brass band played "Here Comes Santa Claus." Olivo said, quote, "That's when the booing started.
Oh, God.
At first, I was scared because it was so loud. But then I figured, hey, it was just good-natured teasing. I'm a Philadelphia fan. I knew what was what."
No, you didn't.
When Olivo finished his run down Santa Claus Lane, he got into range.
He got in... Oh, Jesus. He got into fan range.
A fan in the upper deck threw the first snowball.
Oh, shit.
As Santa hit the south end zone, one turned into 10 snowballs, then into 100 snowballs.
Oh, Jesus.
Quote, "When I hit the end zone and the snowballs started, I was waving my finger at the crowd saying, 'You're not getting anything for Christmas,'" Olivo recalled.
You're on the naughty list. On my face.
Olivo remembers being hit by several dozen snowballs. The Eagles' public relations director at this time, claiming the bad behavior was prompted by Santa's pathetic physical appearance, recalled, quote, "He was the worst-looking Santa I'd ever seen.
That is not... Oh, sorry.
Bad suit, scraggly beard. I'm not sure whether he was drunk, but he appeared to be."
But that's not why. There's no way that the Philadelphia fans, grown-ups, were like, he doesn't pass the competency level for what Santa should look like. They were like,
We got standards here in Philly.
yeah, man trying to be nice. Let's hurt him.
Hurt the man being nice.
Hurt the nice man. When I had to do this gig in Philly once where I had to basically be a ref in a fake boxing thing. I'd never been called faggot faster by it was, and it wasn't for anything other than just being. I hadn't said a word until they were just shellacking me.
Yeah, they're good people. For his part, Olivo maintains that he was a terrific Santa, that his suit was actually of quite good quality, that he wasn't drunk, and that a lot of people who claim otherwise weren't even there. The entire incident might have been forgotten if late Sunday night the local news had not been followed by ABC Weekend Report, a national news show featuring Howard Cosell with a weekly package of NFL highlights.
Oh, boy.
When the whip round got to Franklin Field, Cosell showed no football. Instead, he aired the pelting of Santa,
Oh, jeez.
accompanied by his verbiage shaming the Philadelphia faithful.
Can you believe this?
Yet,
These animals.
the city of Philadelphia built Veterans Stadium, which opened in 1971. It was a stadium perfectly fitting the city. From the beginning, the Vet was viewed as an unflattering cookie-cutter stadium, a multi-purpose concrete bowl devoid of any architectural charm.
Like a toilet.
Like the early 70s were a time when the municipal policies of fiscal restraint and urban renewal often resulted in a compromise which served neither purpose. And that's what happened with the Vet.
Perfect. just the meat you want to throw to the vultures.
The turf at the stadium was considered terrible at best. Quarterback Ron... Right, so it wasn't grass.
No.
Quarterback Ron Jaworski.
Jaworski.
Yeah. Oh, Jaworski. Yeah.
Jaws.
Okay. Once said, quote, "The turf at the Vet is like concrete with a green bed sheet covering it."
It's terrible.
Veterans Stadium had other attributes. The rats running through the team's weight room, the deafening acoustics, the dank, cramped locker room, leaky pipes, a dank arena where a mouse-chasing cat once fell through the ceiling onto the desk of an assistant coach.
I mean, what the fuck? A mouse chasing cat fell on the desk? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Down is up in this place? Mice are chasing fucking cats?
Mouse chasing cat. It is a mouse chasing cat.
A mouse chasing cat?
No, the cat is chasing the mouse.
Oh. Are you sure?
Yeah, it's a mouse chasing cat, so the cat is running after the mouse.
A mouse chase... Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Am I crazy to think that you could go both ways on that?
Well, the way it was written, I didn't.
Okay.
I could have written it better.
Okay, because what I'm picturing is
could have
like
written it better.
one of those little rats from The Princess Bride
Right.
in the Weird Forest.
It's not one of those.
Okay. Landing on a desk.
There was unreliable heat, slow elevators, a peephole where the visiting players looked into the dressing room of the Eagles cheerleaders.
Okay, I'll devil's advocate this one. Why did the home team not have this pinhole?
They probably just weren't next to the cheerleaders' locker room.
I mean, I guess you could put that in there as a distraction, but still.
An odor that former Phillies third baseman Mike Schmidt once described as cat stink.
What does that even... I think we all know kind of what that means.
It may have been due to all the stray cats living in the stadium that ate the rats.
This is not a professional stadium.
And because they had such a rodent problem that they decided to bring in cats.
Who is solving problems for the fucking city of Philadelphia? Santa doesn't show up. You pick a wasted dude from the stands in corduroy. You got a rat problem. Just fill the stadium with cats. They may as well just change every sport team to like the Philadelphia Rats.
When John Gruden became the Eagles' offensive coordinator in 1995, he wondered aloud why there were so many cats. He recently recalled, quote, "I was told the cats were there to get rid of the rats. Suddenly I loved the cats."
But then you're going to be like, I mean, honestly, like, then like, well, now we need dogs. Like, how fucking...
It's like Australia.
They're
they
just
brought
making, like, a
in different
cartoon.
things to get rid of different things.
Yeah.
Listen, they're overrun by...
Yeah, so, but at the end of the day, you're like, well, we should have probably just gotten an exterminator.
The crown jewel of the monstrosity was the 700 level and its horrific occupants. The 700 level lied at the very top of the stadium and was comprised of the worst and therefore the cheapest seats in the stadium. The men and women were also notoriously the most wild, crazy, and worst fans in the NFL.
Okay.
Jerry Longman described the 700 level as having a reputation for, quote, hostile taunting, fighting, public urination, and general strangeness.
General strangeness is a worry.
The name 700 level has been the inspiration for websites relating to Philadelphia sports, as well as weekly letters to the editor section in the Sunday sports pages of the Philadelphia Inquirer. So they had an area that was so horrific, and yet they embraced it.
Yeah.
And that's what they called the letters to the sports pages.
That is kind of in a way like a little bit like the epitome of that city is they embrace the and that happens a lot of times with sports where you embrace like the people who are like, you're a shitty fan. You're like, no, I'm the shittiest fan. You're like, no, correct yourself.
You're not getting this at all.
Correct your behavior, sir.
At a game in the early 1900s, a fan named Jeanette Miller sat in section 730, removed her shoes. Okay, so let's just isolate that part.
Okay.
So a woman came to a game.
Removed her shoes.
A football game, or we're not sure.
Sure.
Football game, or I assume it's a football game.
In the 1900s.
In the 1980s.
Oh, 1980s. Sorry, I thought
right,
we jumped
1900s would make more sense.
Yep.
But in the 1980s, she came and sat down in her seat and took her shoes off in the stadium.
Yep.
Like a fucking crazy person.
Sure.
And soon noticed that the guy in front of her was sucking her left big toe.
Now that is a very huge leap. Who?
She had friends a few sections over who attended games with a keg strategically hidden beneath a wheelchair.
This is next level. This is like the Goonies grew up and went to the Eagles game.
Who doesn't search the wheelchair?
Well, I mean, exactly.
You just lift up the blanket.
You just bring in a gurney, like just with a fucking wet bar underneath it. My grandma's very sick. I'm so sick.
They had a fucking keg.
Yeah, a keg under a wheelchair.
They were sneaking a keg into a stadium.
In a wheelchair.
In the 80s. Holy shit.
Kind of makes me miss the 80s a little.
God. A makeshift municipal court known as Eagles Court was set up in the basement of the stadium in November 1997 after a game against San Francisco, in which about 60 fights broke out. A season ticket holder broke an ankle trying to rescue a friend, and a flare gun was fired into seats.
So they had to open a judicial arm of the stadium.
Yeah.
And
They had
people are also firing flares at people.
The first fan to be taken before the judge was a man who obviously...
Was it a judge?
Yeah, they had a judge in the basement, and they had a makeshift...
Was it just like the judge didn't show up, so they found a guy who was dressed like a judge in the stands?
No,
and
it's a real judge. They had a real judge.
Okay.
They had an actual judge who went down to there and sat there and did it.
Whose wife was like, bullshit, if you want to see another woman, go ahead. He's like, no, I swear to God, I'm a judge on Sundays.
I'm a judge in the bottom of the stadium.
Okay, fuck you, Frank.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself, Frank.
If you don't want to be with me. The first fan to be taken before the judge was a man who obviously was intoxicated, and he proceeded to throw up all over the judge's makeshift bench.
Please.
First guy ever.
My only dream is that was in response to How Do You Plea?
Quote, guys in bright green, day-glow robes, and silver hair. That's not the typical courtroom you're used to in the city, said Municipal Judge Seamus P. McCaffrey, who presided over Eagles Court.
Eagles Court.
The penalties for crime forced offenders to give up season tickets, pay $400 fines, and sit in jail for the rest of the game.
I mean, honestly, could you be dealing with more adult toddlers? This is adult timeout.
I love it. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's adult timeout.
Yeah, they took away the toys and you can't play anymore.
Man, I can't see the fourth quarter.
No, you can't see the fourth quarter because you stabbed a man.
You licked a woman's toe.
You licked a strange
I was
woman's
there. She took off her shoe.
I mean, what am I supposed to do? Let her just take off her shoe without eating it?
So, NFL player Michael Strahan said, quote, it's the only place where the bus pulls up outside the stadium before the game, and you get the grandfather, the grandmother, the grandkids, and the kids, and everybody's flipping you off.
It's almost nice in a way.
Eagles safety Brian Dawkins says he'll never forget the Monday night game when a bottle rocket soared out of the stands.
Wow. That is, it's just some stuff that you would never think you would want to do, let alone do.
Why would you ever want to do that?
Bring a bottle rocket.
January 6, 1972. Hockey. The St. Louis Blues were playing the Philadelphia Flyers. This was during the period when the Philadelphia NHL franchise was known for aggression and fighting. After the second period, the players headed into the locker room. St. Louis Blues coach Al Arbour, A-R-B-O-U-R,
Arbor.
very Canadian, went over to referee John Ashley to complain about a call. As the two spoke, a Flyers fan poured beer. I'm going to say that again. As the two spoke, a Flyers fan poured beer down Arbor's back.
When was this?
1972.
It's so great.
Soon other fans followed by throwing trash and then taking swings at Arbor.
Oh, my God. It's...
Incensed at the treatment their coach was getting, several Blues players took off in the direction of the ramp and started to swing their sticks and climb into the stands to fight the fans.
Not a good idea.
The Philadelphia cops at the arena quickly got involved.
In a good way?
The notorious Philadelphia police were all too happy to use their nightsticks on the Blues players,
Jesus.
beating them back into their locker room.
So
they
who's
so they didn't
who do we root for? Who's our hero?
So they didn't stop the fans.
No.
They just attacked the players of the other team.
They created a
We're
new
being
sect
attacked.
of attacking. They now had to go to the locker room.
A Philly newsman who rushed over to the scene asked a nearby cop what was going on. Quote, "It's the St. Louis Blues against the cops, and we're winning."
I mean, you know what? That is a city that deserves timeout.
Blues coach Al Arbour received a gash needing 10 stitches, and Blues player John Arbour needed 40 stitches. They were also among the 4 Blues who were arrested following the game. Bail was set at $500, and they weren't released from the police station until their bail was paid at 5 in the morning by the Flyers owner.
Wow.
So the Flyers owner bailed them out.
I like that.
They had an arraignment the next
Stay
month.
classy, guys.
Yeah. They had an arraignment the next month when they came to visit the Flyers again, but all charges were dropped. After the 25-minute melee, the Blues, seemingly inspired, came out in the third period and scored 3 unanswered goals to win 3-2. After the game, Blues owner was furious, saying that was the worst case of police brutality I've ever seen or heard about. Isn't it fitting that the Blues came and won? Like that
Yeah,
describes
of course.
Philadelphia
They lose their
sports
shit,
in
they
a
get
nutshell.
distracted, and then their team
And then-
loses.
yes.
And then they're like, why? Why weren't we rewarded?
Remarkably, the win would be the Blues' last one in Philadelphia until the 1980s. The Flyers would go 31-0-3 against the Blues over the next 16 seasons
Jesus.
at the Spectrum, finally losing again in November of 1988. In 1989, the Eagles and Cowboys had a heated rivalry. Rumors swirled that the Eagles had taken out bounties on certain players. The teams were both playing for a playoff spot. Or maybe it was the Cowboys that had taken out. Anyway, the teams were both playing for a playoff spot. The commissioner of the league brought a ton of NFL security to the game. They stood outside Eagles owner Norm Brahman's box where the commissioner watched. They guarded the Cowboys' locker room and the tunnels leading to it. But none of it mattered
Whoa.
because of the snow.
Okay.
A snowfall earlier that week hadn't been entirely cleared from the stadium. Seeing that snow, said Chris Carty, an Eagles player, I knew that wasn't a good sign. Sure enough,
Oh, boy.
the snowballs began raining down on the field. The snowy barrage became so intense in the second half that the Eagles cheerleaders had to leave the field for their own safety.
For this, like, the idea that it does, like, because the cheerleaders are there to just kind of make the men be, like, a little more docile.
Yeah.
And still, they're like, we're going to get hurt. They're hurting us.
A large group of Dallas fans were evacuated from field level seats.
Evacuated.
Evacuated.
Strong term.
Like what didn't even happen in Katrina.
Strong term.
Most of the snowballs were directed at the Dallas coaches and players, although one identified flying object struck an official, back judge Al Jury, in the head and knocked him down in the first half. A number of Dallas players said, "Let's leave the field, let's get out of here," said Larry Wansley, a former FBI agent who coordinates security on the Cowboys bench each week. "I never saw anything like it. And I'm in the FBI."
Yeah, and I work for the Federal Bureau.
The fans weren't just throwing snowballs. A lot of them were ice balls.
I was going to say.
Some of them had rocks inside.
I was also going to assume that there might be some battery snow.
They were more like ice grenades. We were very lucky that someone wasn't seriously hurt. The snowballs came down throughout the second half, splattering around the Dallas players' feet and whizzing past their ears. During one timeout, the Cowboys' offense dodged snowballs in the end zone while the public address system played Winter Wonderland. Okay.
I don't know who's the worst. I think the person playing that, honestly, is the worst.
Well, he's one of them.
Bleeding in a winter wonderland. I'm just bleeding in a winter wonderland.
Several Eagles players tried to call off the bombing, waving their arms toward the sands as if to say, "Please calm down." But it had little effect.
Yeah, but that's exactly what they don't understand.
Yeah.
Is that there's no voice of reason.
No, there's no reason at all.
It's just like when the cops decided to beat up the blues players.
Yeah.
There's no
thinking.
No, there's just
Let's do this.
Yes, let's go.
The snowballs kept coming from both the lower and upper decks. The Cowboys head coach, Jimmy Johnson, was escorted on and off the field by 2 Philadelphia police officers. It proved to be a good idea as the officers used their arms to shield the coach on his dash to the tunnel after the game. One officer was struck in the face by a snowball and shaken up, but he was reported okay after some minor treatment by trainers.
Jesus.
Quote, said one player, "Most of the guys were drenched when they got in here. Some people were dumping everything on us. Beer, soda, ice, you name it." Who started throwing the snowballs isn't known, but one man did admit to betting another fan $20 that he couldn't hit the field with a snowball. The man who made that bet was Ed Randell, at the time an ex-district attorney.
I was just about to
He
say.
also admitted throwing snowballs. He went on to become the mayor of Philadelphia and then the governor of the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah. Yep. Probably helped get him elected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The 1997 baseball draft, the Philadelphia Phillies drafted a player named J.D. Drew with the second pick. Drew's agent had warned any team drafting him that Drew would not take less than $10 million as a signing bonus. But the Phillies had no plan to pay an unproven player this amount of money. They just assumed he'd sign.
Uh-huh.
So Drew refused to sign, as he said he would, and then he signed up to play for an amateur team. They lost their player.
Really?
The next year, he signed with the St. Louis Cardinals, which meant he would be coming to play in Philadelphia.
Oh, Jesus.
Philly fans welcomed Drew back by throwing a barrage of D batteries at him.
D batteries, the square motherfucking painful motherfuck. Why the fuck do you exist, battery? What the fuck happened with every other battery that all of a sudden now we got to like, battery?
Easiest to throw, a D.
Yeah, no, definitely the best to throw. Why? They only exist to hurt.
The game was delayed for roughly 10 minutes after debris landed near Drew in center field. Drew was pulled off the field by his manager for his own safety. On March 5th, 2001, when Drew was finally retiring, Philadelphia Inquirer sports writer T.J. Furman suggested that his readers, quote, show their love for Red Sox outfielder J.D. Drew, who may retire at the end of the season. You'll get one more chance to let J.D. know how you feel about him when the Sox come to town on June 28th. Get your D cells ready. That's 2011.
That's crazy.
In another wonderful moment, draft moment, the Philadelphia Eagles selected Donovan McNabb with the second overall pick in the 1999 NFL Draft. Of course, the draft taking place in front of a live audience meant McNabb was greeted with a chorus of boos because The Philadelphia fans who were in attendance wanted the Eagles to draft Texas running back Ricky Williams.
It's the best.
It's like it's the guy's. He's like a second pick. He's this awesome player, and he's like, "All right," and they're all like, "Boo! You fucking suck!
Yeah.
Welcome to Philadelphia, you piece of shit."
Well, and at least now their negativity has like crossed through the boundary of racism because both those players are black. They actually had a preference, but they still. It really was just anything that
they wanted the pothead who was going to quit football.
They wanted to boo.
Yes, they did.
They wanted to
boo. During his time in Philadelphia, McNabb led the Eagles to 4 consecutive NFL East Division championships, 5 NFC championship games, and his Super Bowl appearance in which the Eagles were defeated. He won the 2004 AP Offensive Player of the Year award and is the Eagles' all-time leader in career wins, pass attempts, pass completions, passing yards, and passing touchdowns. McNabb was said to never have forgiven the fans for the booing he received.
Yeah, they really booed him.
Could
have thrown batteries.
During the early 2000s, the Philadelphia Flyers and Toronto Maple Leafs began to form a rivalry. The Flyers had noted tough guys, but Toronto had the toughest guy of them all, Ty Domi. On March 29, 2001, Domi met the fans of Philadelphia. During the game, Ty Domi tried to fight with a Flyer and earned himself a 2-minute penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. Fans were upset with Domi, and they decided to start throwing things at him in the penalty box. Domi warned them to stop.
Oh, boy.
They didn't. After a while, Domi had had enough. He picked up a water bottle and squirted a few of the fans over the glass partition. Chris Falcone, a 36-year-old concrete worker from Havertown, Pennsylvania, was extremely upset with Domi's squirt.
Yeah, it's very offensive.
And lunged at him.
Oh, boy.
He climbed atop the glass and tried to swing at Domi. Then the glass separating him from the most brutal enforcer in the NHL collapsed.
Boy.
Pandemonium ensued. Falcone and Domi fought in the penalty box before linesman Kevin Collins stepped in.
Jesus Christ.
Falcone was arrested and cited and taken away to get stitches.
Taken to Philadelphia Eagle Jail.
But today he is a living legend in Philadelphia.
Ugh.
No matter how old you are, you still remember the game vividly. The Flyers may not have won the contest, but you can bet someone will bring up, quote, that time the fan got into a fight with Ty Domi.
And isn't that, in essence, why they are the way they are? Isn't it because it almost is like you can create a satisfactory memory out of just being violent and you don't need to lean on a win? Like, that's what they're saying, that what matters most is how they lost.
That hasn't happened to me since I was 15 years old in junior hockey. It was a mascot, Domi said. Hey, that's old-time hockey. It was perfect.
Well, his statement also crazy.
Falcone was treated by medical personnel and did not go to the hospital. Fans in the stands have been known to brawl with each other at Eagles games. During one game against the Washington Redskins, a fight broke out, and one fan was being kicked on the ground. That's when a police officer stepped in and decided to let loose with his pepper spray.
Oh, good. Always good.
The spray drifted onto the field during the Monday night game, the most watched game of the week. Cooling fans on the field pulled the pepper spray residue behind the Eagles bench, and Philadelphia players scattered onto the field to avoid the spray.
Jesus.
Players and fans in the stands on that side of the stadium held their noses and covered their eyes as a national audience watched on TV.
Watched as a cop, a trained officer.
He sprayed a guy who was getting kicked.
Sprayed into the wind on
The game was delayed for 8 minutes until officials decided it was safe to play.
Until officials decided it was okay to blink again.
The Phillies have a mascot called the Philly Fanatic. So he's this giant green thing.
Right, he's a big, weird Martian-looking thing, right?
Yeah, he's got like a big head and a big stomach. He's like round. On February 6, 2004, the Fanatic was at a charity auction of memorabilia at Veterans Stadium when tragedy struck.
Jesus.
Philly mascot Tom Bourguignon was performing during the auction. He said he took off the head in a first aid room in a restricted area off the main concourse during a break around 6:30 p.m. When he returned 45 minutes later, the head was gone. The theft was caught on tape by the center's security cameras, who filmed a man trying to conceal the head between his bright yellow ski coat.
And this head is huge.
It's gigantic.
Okay.
There's a back door to that room, and he entered the room and exited that way, Bourguignon later said. Security never saw him. Witnesses came forward saying they saw the man place the head in the trunk of his car.
Oh, wow.
The Phillies delayed reporting the missing head, believing it had been taken as a prank and would be returned.
Wrong.
But after it didn't turn up for several days, Bourguignon went to the police. The police announced to the public that the fanatic's head had been stolen. Bourguignon was besieged with emails and phone calls from people outraged that the head had been taken. During the police interview process, a sergeant said Bourguignon was asked to describe the missing item. Quote, he starts saying it's green and it's 2.5 feet tall and it has a snout and a party favor for a tongue. And I'm thinking to myself, do we need to ask him to describe the Philly head?
No. It's the craziest head you'll see. And it's green.
Wait, you said party favor for a tongue?
Yeah, it's got a party favorite tongue, and its head is made of sort of a neon streamer. Just picture a crazy fucking thing.
A $5,000 reward was offered by Gary Barbera Automotive Group in Philadelphia.
Ooh, the Phillies won't offer a fucking reward?
And that was then publicized by Howard Stern. 11 days after the theft, Bernard Bechtel called radio station WYSP-FM. Bechtel, 37, first told disc jockey Tommy Conwell over the phone that his son had found the headpiece while sledding. But when he arrived at the radio... Do we want to...
Well, I mean...
He was just sledding and he came across the head?
Obviously, that's total bullshit.
But when he arrived at
But you could come up with such a better scenario.
It's the worst scenario I've ever heard. My son found it while he was sledding. Number one, you've already brought your son in.
Came out of the shower.
I was doing a donut shop and it was just sitting on the donuts.
It was in my drawer.
It fell out of a car.
My kid barfed this.
When he arrived at the radio station Tuesday to claim the money, he said he recovered it from two 13-year-olds who were running down a ramp at the Wachovia Center. Bechtel also didn't want to tell the disc jockey his name.
Cool. Well, that's probably going to be easy to get a check.
So I just want the $5,000 because I got the head, but I can't tell you who he is.
I got the head, huh? Come on.
So here's the head.
Come on.
What do you got for me?
No more questions.
What do you got for me?
No more batteries.
My name don't mean shit. He did say he was from... Well, this is a tough one. Conshohocken, which he mispronounced.
Oh, good.
So you should know the name of the place you're from.
Yeah, for sure. It's not hard. You're from there. It's near. You already know you're going in with the idea that you've said you found a big head while sledding.
Shouldn't you pick a place that you know how to pronounce?
Yeah, there's got to be like a Smithville or something. I'm from Kashonging.
I'm from Shiklocken, Boigs. You know, the sea place.
Yeah. Anyway, where's my $5,000 for this sledding head?
Soon, 4 Philadelphia police officers arrived. They had received a phone tip minutes before that the fanatic's head was in the radio station building. Quote, that Philly fanatic must be a lucky guy. I was 7 blocks away, said Sergeant Stephen Bellio. Officers escorted Bechtel out of the building, and Sergeant Bellio retrieved the furry, squiggly-eyed head, which was stashed under the station's studio board. We got a real big trash bag, and we transported it back to South Division, the sergeant said.
Heroes.
Philly mascot Tom Burgoyne got his costume's head back. The fanatic is intact. It still smells, so we know it's his.
Buddy, pick a better quote.
Bechtel was charged with receiving stolen property, burglary, theft, and trespassing. The husband and father of 2 was said to have been very remorseful.
I'm sure.
But he said he couldn't help himself because of seeing the memorabilia. He was placed on 2 years probation and ordered to perform 100 hours of community service.
But will he throw batteries again?
April 2010. At a Phillies game, 21-year-old Matthew Clemens of Cherry Hill, New Jersey, was sitting with a friend behind off-duty Easton Police Captain Michael Vangelo and his daughters, aged 15 and 11. The two men were cursing up a storm and spitting, with some of their saliva hitting one of Vangelo's daughters. The police captain was not amused. Vangelo complained to security, and Clemens' friend was ejected. A little while later, Clemens, who was still sitting in his seat, answered his cell phone saying, quote, "I need to do what I need to do.
Not good.
I'm going to get sick."
What?
He then stuck his fingers down his throat.
No, Dave, no.
And vomited on the Vangelo and his family.
No. What? Those are things that based on common decency, you don't expect someone to go that far. I need to do what I need to do, and then he fucking bulimia'd everywhere.
Vangelo said he tried to push his children safely behind him, and Clemens punched him in the face.
While barfing?
Yeah. 4 or 5 fans in the next session then rushed to help. They held Clemens until police arrived, and someone did punch Clemens in the face as he tried to break free. And an officer was also hit with vomit.
Ugh.
Clemens' mugshot showed him with one black eye. Clemens was arrested. He was charged with assault, reckless endangerment, disorderly conduct, and related offenses for the incident.
And inventing a new misdemeanor.
He was given a $36,000 bail.
Oh, my God.
In court, he admitted to purposefully throwing up on the family, but told the judge he was sorry for his actions.
Who gives a fuck?
How do you do that? How do you say, yes, I threw up on them, but I'm really sorry about it?
I feel real bad.
You know what? You do things, and then you're like, I shouldn't have done
Fool
that.
me once.
Are you ever, hey, Judge, have you ever thrown up on somebody's?
Yeah.
You feel bad right afterward.
I was so nauseous from eating my fingers, sir.
The judge did not believe Clemens was sincere. He was sentenced to 3 months in jail, 2 years probation, and 50 hours of community service. Vangelo said his daughter hasn't talked about what happened that night and doesn't want to go back to Citizens Bank Park.
That all makes a lot of sense.
I think this is our last one.
Okay.
October 2014.
Oh,
recent. Sonny Forrest Jr., a Vietnam vet and street musician, is known for playing music outside of Phillies and Eagles game. Sonny also has only one leg.
Could have been a general. It's a call ahead. It's a call ahead.
That's a call ahead. Forrest Jr., who began using a motorized wheelchair after losing his leg, said he had taken off his prosthetic leg during his performance. It was probably bothering him.
Okay, so
okay, go ahead.
His leg, I mean, someone takes his fucking leg?
Well, it's like taking off your shoes, I guess.
It's like taking off a mascot head. Except the man needs it to fucking survive.
He was packing up his car to get going when a group of people danced around him. As he continued to sing, Forrest Jr. said he was then approached by a woman in her 20s who was wearing Eagles gear. "She jumped in my lap," Forrest Jr. said. "She gripped my leg, and I didn't even know it. I looked down, and she took my leg. Then she disappeared."
What the fuck?
"A young lady came up and snatched my leg off my chair and took off." Forrest Jr. filed the police report, and police searched for clues. On Monday, around 1 a.m., a subway conductor found the prosthetic leg on a train at the other end of the Broad Street line.
She didn't even give a fuck.
And then contacted police.
She didn't even give a fuck.
She just took a guy's leg
for nothing. She didn't
took off and left it on the subway.
Like, how do you not even at least put it on a shelf and be like, I took a guy's leg? Like, at least then you give it some sort of there's at least some sort of justice to the whole thing.
Have some pride in your leg thievery.
Yeah.
You don't take a leg just for the sake of taking a leg.
You don't take a leg and go, I'm sick of carrying it.
I'm going to leave it on a train.
Fuck it.
Police reached out to Forrest Jr. to return the leg, reunited with his leg. Forrest Jr. said he doesn't wish for the woman who snagged his leg to go to jail. He wants her to get help.
Unfortunately, they don't have a rehab for that.
Quote, somebody needs to talk to her. She don't need to go to jail.
True, fair.
Investigators said that appeared in total 3 women took part in the leg heist.
The leg heist. What a great
That's only
city.
some of the Philadelphia fan
great
stories
town.
that I could have just kept going on.
What a great town. What must you think when you get traded there as an athlete, even now? You must be like, I
the
hope I'm
Phillies-
fucking good.
The Phillies were good for a little while, and now they're bad again.
Yeah.
I've never been to a game there, but I could have gone to an Eagles game once, and I was too scared.
I've been to an Eagles game.
You've been to the stadium?
I did. I had this gig for a while where I had to go to Philly and like do shit at like sporting events, and that's where I was reffing this thing. And then I also had to do some stuff outside of an Eagles playoff game.
Oh my god!
Yeah, and I'm not kidding. I mean, it was just like it didn't matter. It didn't matter. There was no like you couldn't win, and it was almost liberating. It was almost like you're like, I can't. It's not me. It's them. Because the second you start anything, all they want to do is hurt.
Oh my god! It's terrifying. All right,
Philly.
There you
God
go,
bless.
Philly. There you go.
God bless.
76.
God bless y'all.
Don't tread on me.
All right.
Oh, yes, it's Gareth. Not Gary, stop it. Gare Force, listen, I've got a bunch of stand-up shows coming up, and I want to see you there. We can hug. I will be at Rooster Teeth Feathers in Sunnyvale, California, April 18th, 19th, and 20th. Then I will be in Chattanooga, Tennessee, June 18th. I will be at Nashville at Zanies, June 19th. I will be in Huntsville, Alabama, June 20th. I'll be in Atlanta, Georgia, June 21st, June 22nd. Then I will be in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, June 26th. Then I'll be in East Providence, Rhode Island, June 27th. Then I'll be in Boston, Massachusetts, and Boston, June 28th. That's 2 shows. I will be in Springfield, Massachusetts, June 29th, Rochester, New York, June 30th, and then July 5th through the 6th. Canada, I've heard your prayers, and I will answer them. I will be in Toronto. So come join me at the Comedy Bar. Go to GarethReynolds.com for tickets and information. That's right, Gareth Force. We're calling you up. It's the big time. The big leagues. This went poorly.
Hear that? It's 15,000 students getting health care for free. It's a healing space
Come on in, let's
for
talk.
those with substance use and mental health disorders. It's one of the best trauma centers nationwide, answering the call of the unexpected. From the good days to the bad days to the I just need to talk days, Denver Health is there for you, wherever, whenever you need it. Learn more at theheartofdenver.org.